Robbie Lawler was out of control.
This is Double Cross, the murder of Robbie Lawler.
It was going to be an all-out war with him in the middle of it.
A Crime World special investigation podcast based on my new book, Web of Betrayal, wherever you get your podcasts.
Clodagh, it looks like it was another fairly stark day for Conor McGregor in the High Court. Well, he was there?
He wasn't there, no. Just his lawyers.
Okay. So basically, Justice Alexander Owens, who oversaw the civil proceedings taken against McGregor and his friend James Lawrence by Nikita Hand, had to rule over costs and issues about an application that was to be made for an injunction on CCTV material, which was described and used as evidence during that trial, and also to do with comments McGregor had made on social media in the aftermath relating to the court. So, okay.
Yeah, so there was three things, I suppose, like you said, up for discussion today in the court was the costs. The scandalising of the court is what they were referred to it as. This is when Conor McGregor made comments on social media, in particular in relation to calling the court a kangaroo court, to which it was, Nikita Hand's legal team said that such a phrase kind of implied that the court was corrupt. So on that matter, basically Judge Owens in his ruling said that he wasn't going to pursue the matter of that being contempt of court because he didn't want to give any further publicity. And then there was also the matter of the CCTV. So with regards to the costs, at the moment, Conor McGregor is planning to launch an appeal. There is potential there for a retrial. And basically, what's happening now is he has been ordered that he has to pay her 100,000 of her damages. He also has to pay 200,000 of the legal fees.
These are civil proceedings, so I suppose in a way, if it ends up in the appeals court and if a decision is made that leaves this decision hanging, either party can go forward again to the Supreme Court, but also you're back in a position where there can be settlements made. There can be a settlement made. It's not necessarily going to go to trial again because of its being civil proceedings. It would, I suppose, in criminal proceedings, it would go directly and absolutely naturally for a retrial. But in civil, they can go back really behind the scenes to settle it or to come to an agreement.
Yeah, it depends. Like, it's very complex. It depends on what sort of judgment is made in the appeal court.
Yeah.
And if there's a decision on a basis of a point of law, then that point of law can be further appealed to the Supreme Court, which we see. So or else there could be other possibilities of parts of the case being reheard.
Yes.
So it's any number of possibilities, I suppose. The decision in terms of costs. So he's having to give her 100,000 out of a 250,000 settlement, which is roughly 40%.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in other cases, a judge can tell somebody to hand over as little as sort of 10 and 5% I've even seen. So that'd be on the higher end of the scale. Because there's an appeal, often there's, people don't even have to hand over anything at all. You see that in compensation cases sometimes for road traffic accidents where nothing is paid over until the appeals are heard out.
Mm-hmm.
So we have made a sort of a decision of a type there to give Nikita Hand 40% of the costs or 40% of the award ahead of the appeal. Again, there's loads of other possibilities, and I think that's totally at the discretion of the judge who heard the case there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose, the point is that was, for now, this is what it is. There's a stay on the cost. This is what has to happen now. And obviously a decision on the rest of it is going to be depending on that.
And he is putting together an appeal. He's going to apply to appeal this, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we've been told about the appeal that...
he told about the appeal from the minute he came out of the court case, didn't he?
Yeah.
On social media.
Yeah, and he has a deadline, I think, towards the end of February, there was, for which that appeal has to be lodged. Look, no doubt he's going to appeal. He said it. He's a wealthy man. The costs are, while for a normal person, they might be totally prohibitive to be bringing appeals to high courts or Supreme Courts. Conor McGregor is clearly in a very different position.
So tell us, I suppose, then about what the judge had to say about this CCTV. Will we recap the story a little bit? Because you and I did something on it, Niall, the other day, and there's basically this business associate of his who's involved in one of his drinks company, an Italian guy, and he has sort of been posting online saying that this CCTV is going to be published, or he's sort of threatening it. He's dangling it.
Yeah, he certainly seemed to imply that it was going to be published.
And he implied that he had it.
Yeah, well, he certainly implied that he knew what was in it, and he implied that that this would be a game changer once it was seen. Certainly, the implication was that he had seen it, and that if it was going to be disseminated, is the word they use. Like, as we described, that CCTV would have come into possession of both legal teams as a result of the discovery process, but at first would have initially been harvested by the guards as part of the criminal investigation. They would have gone in as is routine and got the CCTV off the hotel or any other CCTV cameras that might be relevant. They would have put that into their case that was ultimately sent to the DPP. But when the civil action then is launched, both sides can seek discovery of the Gardaí and off each other, and that would have then ended up with both Nikita's Hand's legal team and Conor McGregor's legal team. Once the legal teams have it, obviously their clients then get to see that and get to be brought through it as part of the preparation of their case. It's so that's
Niall loves a bit of data protection. Did you know that? It's one of his little secret vices. So what he's going to say to you next is, now it's all protected under data protection, which it is.
Yeah, that was actually something that did come up today.
Exactly,
yeah, it was very interesting.
So it is interesting because, look, the CCTV...
Such a crushing bore.
Well, it is. No,
we like rules.
Wait till I make it exciting. So, like, if something is on social media, right, it could come from anywhere, right? And you could say, case, oh, well, I didn't get that off that person. I got that off Twitter or whatever, right? But like this CCTV, it's in a number of people's hands. It went through the guards' hands, went to the DPP, and it went through the legal teams. But there's a very small number of people who've seen it. So if it ends up public, it's only coming from a very small number of sources. And I suppose the judge he made a distinction, did he, between this isn't an injunction, but this is...
Yeah, so senior counsel for Conor McGregor made a point that they weren't actually seeking permission, or they weren't seeking to get that CCTV footage. And the other side, Nikita Hand's team, were also saying, like, we're not asking, we just want the rules of the court to be enforced here. So the judge made the determination. He said, everyone else is calling this an injunction, but it's not an injunction. It's just, he then did set out, a list of, I suppose, an order for Conor McGregor in relation to the CCTV. But he did say, as part of the hearing today, Nikita Hand's legal team said, like, they did explain, like, that CCTV footage was gathered by the Gardaí through a High Court order. They got that CCTV for the sole purpose of their investigation. And then, of course, again, like you explained, it was part of the discovery. And the only purpose of that CCTV being in the possession of anybody else is for the trial, very specifically. Because outside of that, for Conor McGregor or anyone to share that publicly is obviously a breach of GDPR. And also, the judge said, it will be a gross breach of Miss Hand's privacy as well for that to be shared. So they did make that kind of differentiation in terms, like, when it does come to criminal investigations or Gardaí investigations, which again is the purpose that they sought that footage. GDPR just doesn't come into it at all. But obviously, when you're facing an issue of the public, that's obviously a different thing. But he also said that, while the case was heard in open court, it was a public trial. Members of the public have seen the CCTV. Journalists have seen the CCTV. He said that doesn't mean that somebody can have it for a random reason. Like, for example, Conor McGregor's business partner said that he was going to publish that as part of what seemed to be some sort of publicity campaign for the Forged Stout. And that obviously is a contempt of court for it to be used. And he did order that Conor McGregor has 1 week from today to sign an affidavit telling his solicitor what copies he had of the CCTV. And of course, it's not like, olden times, I'll have a tape of it or have this. It's whoever has copies of it via, a text message, email, whoever has it on their phones. He needs to say who he sent it to, where he gave it to, all those locations, and then describe how he deleted them and removed them and make sure that they're gone. So it's more of a...
It's on him.
Yeah, it's on him. And it's I suppose... he's just making sure that Conor McGregor sticks to the rules of the
it
court.
feels like it's like sort of it's a warning to McGregor, as opposed to, he's right, he's saying he can't issue an injunction as such, or maybe he can, but he's not.
Yeah.
This is a warning. You need to guarantee me that you have got everything back that you've passed on to anyone through your social media, whatever, through your messaging, your texts, your WhatsApps. It's on you. And if this comes out, this piece of CCTV that was only for the trial, he's sort of threatening him with jail, basically.
Yeah, he did say that, contempt of court, something like this, will be punishable with a prison sentence. And he also had mentioned, I suppose, in relation to the CCTV and the supposed Conor McGregor's appeal, he was saying, okay, so your client wants to, for example, or kind of hypothetically, if this, piece of CCTV footage is published online, it will go to the darkest corners of the internet. He said it will go everywhere. It's out there for people to see. The jury in the actual trial, they weren't privy to any of that social media commentary. They hadn't seen the CCTV footage beforehand. Whereas if this goes to a retrial, there is potential that the jury will have seen that CCTV footage and they will have seen all the commentary around it again. So he was kind of questioning Mr. Farrell for Conor McGregor, like, why would he want that? But also calling the jury, calling into question their decision, and then calling the court a kangaroo court. It wasn't really making sense. And also with the CCTV, he spoke to Dee Devlin, as you know, tweeted about or put a post on Instagram. And I can't imagine the fear of any of my Instagram posts ending up in a courtroom.
Yeah. I would the same. I would actually, no, I would be sick. I would be sick.
And there was a poor journalist from these very institution who was there today, who had his article about the CCTV read by the judge, by all the legal. I was just sitting there like, I have such secondhand fear, terrifying.
Yeah.
But he was saying that because Dee Devlin had seen it, she shouldn't have seen it.
Well, we don't know that she'd seen it, but it's
she commented. So he was sort of saying maybe like it could have been described to her what was in it, and then she was repeating that this was it.
See, this is what Mr. Farrell said. He was like, well, actually, you don't know that she's seen it post-trial, which was the problem. It was being insinuated that she had seen it after the trial had happened.
In the courtroom if she
but
was
again,
there.
which Judge Alexander Owens pointed out she wasn't there the day the CCTV was shown. Yeah. But he did then say, yes, she may have
miss a trick, does he?
No, he doesn't. Yeah. She may have seen it, while Conor McGregor was in the solicitor's office. He would have had to have a copy of it so that he could instruct his legal team. And he mentioned, she may have seen it. Remy Farrell said she could have seen it at that point. But the point was, I suppose, that if she had seen it after the trial, or if Conor McGregor had this video, he has no right to be shown it to friends, family, anyone. And again, he did acknowledge that, they can't make a precedent that you can't speak to your partner about evidence in a trial like that either. So it was a very difficult one, but I think the way and usually these things, as you know, they're very, it's legal.
Yeah. I wonder what he has done with it. Like, it hasn't been published.
Yeah.
No.
It hasn't shown up anywhere yet. The threat, that dangling threat against to Nikita Hand, essentially, that is being used, but they haven't. There's obviously a little bit of sense prevailing somewhere there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's clear, like, Nikita Hand isn't going to release it, and the guards are not going to release it.
Of course not. No, it's on McGregor, but I mean, with him, there's obviously a little bit of sense prevailing, even though, he was very emotional after the trial, the verdict. He lashed out on social media, etc. Like, he was accused of being out in the banger and getting on his phone and all this sort of stuff. Like, if that was done in anger, it would have been, you'd imagine it would have been done in and around there.
Yeah, like a kind of reaction. I mean, I'm saying this
reaction. Sort of if I was trying to talk Nikita Hand down off
alleged
panic and alleged, I'd be saying these kind of things to her, that it hasn't gone up yet.
Yeah.
But also the point was made that journalists have the right to apply to see those pieces of evidence that are in a public trial, whether it's affidavits.
Who said that?
This is what Mr. Farrell said.
Well, Mr. Farrell should try and apply for a single piece of that affidavits from the court system here in Ireland, because I must have applied for I've given up
He did reference 2
And Eamon
cases.
Dillon would say the same thing to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there was kind of giggles among
Yeah.
the journalists
Yeah.
on the media bench that, okay, good luck with that one, you know, if you're a journalist trying to get a hold of that.
There's just no way they're sending over that
Not
CCTV.
No.
Now, obviously, the other thing is the CCTV is seized under warrant by the guards. It's not, they don't just go in and ask for it. Like
That's what was said.
Yeah.
They had a
And
high
so
court.
it is,
Yeah.
so that also puts it in a different frame, you know.
Yeah. And also, I would imagine the CCTV. So, you know, the Beacon Hotel, right? This is where it's from. The guards come to them. They look for the piece of they come with their warrant,
Yeah.
and they look for a copy of this portion of the CCTV, right, which they take away.
Yeah, but they sometimes take the hard drive. Okay?
Yeah. Okay, so they may have
They
taken the
may
hard drive.
take the hard drive.
Okay, but one way or another,
Yeah.
you would imagine that the piece of CCTV that was taken for use in this trial has a particular digital stamp on it.
Oh, yeah.
So if it's released, it can't be said, oh, that was a recording, or that was what the hotel kept,
Yeah.
or that was a copy or something. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
I would
do you know-
imagine there's a digital stamp on
There
each
is.
piece.
Yeah.
like-
Now,
and
do you know what has happened? This is a funny reality that, of course, people used to have a CCTV tape. I will
Yeah.
remember this. Okay,
Yeah.
you actually had,
the tape.
because I worked in an off license, and you turned on the tape every day.
Yeah,
You know, you actually turned
Press
the tape, press
record.
record again.
yeah.
But now they can take the hard drive. Now, often they don't take it anymore, the guards, because if they take the hard drive, they have to replace the hard drive.
Yeah.
They have to pay for it.
Yeah,
Now, they may well have taken the hard drive in a case as sensitive
in a case as
this,
sensitive
where
as
they-
that, I'd say
where
they would have.
they will have
Yeah.
paid then the Beacon Hotel for it.
I'd be surprised.
So
And
if
also, when was it? 2018?
2017, wasn't it?
2018, I think.
End of 2018, yes. But
Yeah.
also on that, if the CCTV footage, when the hotel have it, I think they have to delete it within 28 days.
Yeah.
So that will be gone.
Or they certainly
By
have
now.
a liability to delete it after
Under
or
GDPR,
However,
yeah, something like
in
obviously-
that.
his
Obviously
bedtime
we've
reading
had-
GDPR.
Obviously, we've had other cases
Seriously,
where
Clodagh?
people
I mean it.
where people have, you know, made recordings of recordings on their phone.
Yeah.
and
He used to have
CCTV.
rows with with banks and everything about his GDPR rights.
Oh,
He
really?
had actually read, he's the only human being that has read the booklet.
Yeah.
Do you know those things they send us in the office that you have to say?
Tick, yes, and scroll down. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
then
It's always because nobody knows
Have a
what
coffee.
GDPR is.
Yes.
So you just throw it at them and they get confused. and
He
you can-
knows.
Yes.
He knows. He's the train spotter.
But actually, I think you'd be a great person to have as a phone a friend on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
What do I do? I
I've
know.
often considered who my phone a friend
Yeah.
would be. It might be you,
Not
Niall.
me,
I
eh?
no, I have lots of useless information. Nothing, very little practical. But if you want,
I'd be like, what's my own name? Or I'd
So-
forget you were ringing.
but you know, all of this happens today, right? In the context of another case that was launched
yes.
last night. So, I mean, this is the other reality of Conor McGregor's life. I mean, this is a huge case, the case Nikita Hand brought against him. Huge news, and obviously it's bigger in Ireland because it all happened here. But another very, very serious case, from
Allegation.
whatever, very serious allegation as launched against Conor McGregor last night in the US in relation to another incident at a basketball match in Miami. It was an incident that was reported at the time. It being America, you know,
Yeah.
you can apply for information. In fact, you know, some of the police statements at the time were revealed. But a woman last night, described as being a Wall Street executive in her 40s, I think,
Yeah.
launched a civil case against Conor McGregor, accusing him of sexual assault.
The criminal investigation, in the same way as the Nikita Hand one, came to nothing. It didn't come before the courts for him.
No, it came to nothing. We had some details at the time. You know, there was contradictory statements, I think it was said, why the police didn't pursue it further. There was other issues as well in relation to what the woman was alleged to have said to police. The case didn't proceed, but it was public at the time. So she's launched a case. Her lawyers have given, I think, genuinely those sort of affidavits do become public in the American system. So she's making a series of allegations about him, saying that she met him at the basketball match, that she spoke to him in a friendly manner. She claims then she ended up, he brought her to a bathroom at the place, and that a sexual assault occurred. He has denied this in very, very strong terms, both at the time and now. He's put out a statement saying he was cleared in a criminal
What year was that?
investigation.
Just, you know,
2023.
really?
Yeah.
And was there detail of what she alleges that sexual assault was?
Well, she alleges she was brought in by a bodyguard or security person into the toilets. That she ended up in a stall with him in the toilets. That he sexually assaulted her effectively, and that she didn't consent to it.
This isn't a rape allegation.
No, this is not a rape allegation, but it's an allegation of serious sexual assault. Now, he's denied it really, really strongly. And he's pointed out to the fact that there's other witness statements that contradict her claims, according to him. And he's also pointed out that, again, like the Nikita Hand case, that the police didn't pursue it as a criminal matter for a reason. It was very well ventilated at the time. However, it's not gone away. And this comes back, And
civil proceedings in the US are, there's not going to be 250 grand in that.
No, there's not. No, in fact, she has, I think,
sued for like 400 squillion or something.
Well, I actually don't think she has, but it's a very different system.
But it's always massive money.
But it can be.
But you wonder sometimes there's cases against people that wouldn't have that much.
No.
It's like a figure.
Yeah, it's some of this is it's a totally different system. In Ireland, you don't particularly often you can launch a specific claim, but it's so look, exactly, this is another case against Conor McGregor. He has spoken about in the past how claims he's a target for this sort of stuff. However, it's certainly it's certainly going to follow him.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just looking here at $75,000, which isn't actually that much. That's all she's suing for.
Yeah.
But something that the judge did say in the ruling today,
a little bit off with my 400 squillion.
A little bit off. We need to get that big calculator back out, don't we? Something that he did say in his ruling today was he specifically used the phrase, "the jury found that he raped Nikita Hand," which was something that was, I suppose, there was a lot of questions to us about that. It was like, well, was he found guilty, civilly liable for assault, or was it civilly liable for rape, or what was going on there? And today, the judge used the phrase, he was found civilly liable for raping her.
Okay.
So not a good day to be his publicity team.
Day. So anyway, his lawyers presumably will filter that information onto him now.
Yeah, and his lawyers issued a statement saying that although after a thorough investigation,
who's the solicitors?
It's Barbara Leanne's and a US solicitor, effectively.
This is a case in the US you were talking about?
Yes, I'm talking about the US. In a statement to the media, she said, after a thorough investigation at the time, the state's attorney concluded that there was no case to pursue. Almost 2 years and at least 3 years after, the plaintiff has a new false story. We are confident that this case too will be dismissed. So that's Conor McGregor's taken it.
Who are his solicitors in Ireland? Do we know?
Michael Staines. Michael Staines is solicitor,
yeah. And okay, so undoubtedly they will now have to go back and disseminate all that to Conor McGregor wherever he is.
Yeah, so he has a week to have that signed sworn affidavit with his solicitor, and then it's back to a hearing on the Thursday, the 12th of February, because I think it might be the Wednesday, the 12th of February anyway. The judge wants to hear Mr. McGregor's explanation of what's going on, and he wants to hear what he has to say in his affidavit.
Okay.
Well, so it goes on.
Continues.
Yeah. So, yeah. And it is interesting that's popped up again in the US now. Well, okay, we'll leave it till we're back in court then on the 12th of February. Thanks, Clodagh.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm Nicola Talent, and you're watching Crime World, a podcast about criminals, drugs, and the underworld in Ireland and across the globe. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you can be the first to watch all our latest episodes. You can also listen wherever you get your podcasts.